Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Thanks, But No One Asked You podcast where storytelling meets unsolicited advice. And this year, as you know, I am only bringing on Gen Zers. And so I have my latest Gen Zer on the call, Mr. Dylan. And Dylan, I'm going to let you introduce yourself. Please tell the people who you are.
That's good. So my name is Dylan Pinkins. I'm from Long Island, New York. I'm a senior at Case Western Reserve University studying finance, and I'm the founder of Timing, Jarvis for Relationships, a personal network assistant. I'm trying to revolutionize networking for job seekers and college students. I've had backgrounds in private equity, investment banking, venture capital. Started my first business when I was 17 a few years ago. So, I have a lot of experience with business entrepreneurship and different finance fields.
Yeah, everybody, just no big deal. We're not impressed or anything. Let's
I
before
appreciate
we
that.
we're gonna play a game, but before we jump in that, how did you tell me about the company that you started?
The first one or the second one? The one we're
The
building
first
now,
one.
or so this is why networking is so important to me. My second business is on networking because the first business was just serendipity, right? So after high school, a friend of mine had reached out to me. He said, "Hey, Dylan, we've been really good friends. You're a smart guy. I trust you, and I'm starting a business. I want you to be a part of it." And I didn't really think about business. I had only been working at Chick-fil-A. That's all I knew. As only all I ever did. But he was doing tech consulting. I didn't know what consulting was. I didn't know what any of this stuff was, but I just said, "Let's do it." And, I worked my way out from intern to co-founder, and I was doing tons of stuff from marketing to recruitment to legal to doing the consulting, and it forced me to make a LinkedIn and network and, just the ripple effect of just being curious and talking to people and trying to meet new people, and cold outreach just kind of led to the rest of what I just told you.
Okay, I love the cold outreach part. We're going to talk about that because networking is now easier than ever, depending on how you look at it. And I notice a lot of youth people,
Mhm.
I'm not even going to put it on youth. A lot of people are very
Mm.
apprehensive about the cold DM.
100%.
My business runs on a cold DM. And I see a lot of people posting that, they've raised 250,000 or they started their companies off of cold DMs. I think Steve Bartlett even talks about it. The
Great guy, great podcast, by the
Yeah,
way.
he talks about it a lot. I'm seeing so many founders say that they found their seed money, they found investors from cold DMing. And so, when it comes to cold DMing, you strike me as a person who's like, "These are the directions, I will execute them." Did you have fear about reaching out to people cold?
Definitely. Cold emailing first is a mental thing. I grew up from a background where network was not championed, where outreach was not championed. And, because of how we grew up, stuff like Microsoft or Harvard just wasn't us. Like, that was not, like, a part of the game plan, and when you have that limited mindset, the idea that you can just message anyone, Steve Jobs, whoever, I guess Steve Jobs is, of course, has passed, but, like, anyone in the world isn't realistic to you, and so when someone says, "No, like, the way to do this, the way that you have to get your foot through the door," whether it's investment banking or private equity, which is typical fields that college students are cold outreaching for nowadays, you're scared. You're like, "Why would these people speak to me, these people are adults and I'm like 18.
Yeah.
What are we gonna talk about? Like, I don't even know what these people like." And then the rejection's hard, right? Cold emailing is one of those processes where it's a bit of a numbers game where you have to be comfortable with, sending 100 cold emails and getting 0 responses. Yeah, yeah, I know that struck a chord, man. I know that struck a chord with you. It definitely does with me. And so it's hard when we're not used to sending all these different messages and talking to so many people and then just getting radio silence. And I think it also affects your mentality. So I had tons of fear, and I sent, 10, 20 cold emails and no one responded. And I felt so bad about myself and I wanted to quit. But I just kind of kept at it. And then I got lucky with just some amazing people who poured into me and became mentors, and I learned to, dive in to it because I realized that, you know, that's how you win. That's how you kinda get what you want, and that's how you really grow as a person, and you learn about the world when it's just not in front of you. Opportunities are not equal. They're not democratized across all, social groups, ethnic groups, locations. And so at a certain point in time, you just realize, "Hey, I gotta go get what I want. I gotta go talk
Yeah.
to people and figure it out so I can have the life that I want."
Yeah, and I love what you said. So you said something around like, we didn't see it growing up, right? And I had the same thing. Like you you only dream as far as the limitations that are created around you. And
Mhm.
so people will ask me, especially, kids or even adults will be like, well, how do I gain confidence? And my response is by doing.
Yeah.
No one can feed you confidence. You can read a book about it. You don't get confidence from the same way you don't learn how to swim by reading about it. You don't gain confidence from reading it and listening to it. You got to go do it, bomb it, and then go do it. So actually, part of the other thing that you talked about was like the fear,
Mm.
right? And so, what I like people to do is say, let's lean into the fear. What's the
Mm.
worst possible outcome that you think can happen?
I love that.
Let's draw it all out. Let's talk about it. What's the worst? And people have it. They'll be like, "Well, I think that this thing is gonna happen." I'm like, "Cool, write that down." Right? What's the best possible outcome? All right.
Mm.
I promise you everything's gonna happen in between there.
Yep. Yep.
Everything is gonna happen in between that space, but the worst possible outcome also typically, if it happens, you go, "Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I fell off the bike. Okay. It scared the hell out of me, but then I was like, "Oh, nothing's wrong. Okay, I'm still here." What was, like, the worst interaction you had? You don't have to say anyone's name, but, like, did you fumble
I've
the
had I've had a
business?
few.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Because I want people to know, like, this is the worst has happened, and this man is still standing. What's the worst?
Yeah. So I think, there are a few. One that sticks out to me is when I was initially trying to raise capital for my second business, I guess this current one. I reached out to tons of angel investors, and a guy responds to me and he says, "Oh, I'm retired. Do not respond to me ever again. Delete my email, blah, blah, blah." And I thought to myself, "Oh, that's real. That's real. It's not too bad." Now, some of the bad ones, this one was pretty interesting where, I'm a scrappy person, right? Like, you kinda create opportunities out of nothing, and so I got in contact with some founders who were interested in distributing their product across the Case Western campus in exchange for whatever I was gonna benefit from it. Maybe it was money, maybe it was support, whatever. And so I went to a few faculty and staff who I trusted, some of which who I didn't know at all. And I just kind of cold emailed everyone in Case Western. I said, "Hey, I have this interesting idea. I think it's really, really useful." And I believed in it too. I had conviction behind what they were building. And I said, "This is really interesting. Would love to kind of let you see it and see if this is right for the Case Western campus or some groups of people. Like, I think we can help students in this way of helping them find jobs, internships, and opportunities." And so someone responds and they say, "I'm not really interested, blah, 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 whatever." But what happens is one of their colleagues said, "Yeah, I'll schedule a call with the person who just didn't want to speak with me." So this person had seen an invite for a conversation with me after they had responded saying they weren't interested, which had created some interesting tension there. It led to this person calling me from an unidentified number and saying, basically just saying that I was being led and, just brainwashed by different companies to help their agenda on the Case Western campus and all different types of stuff. So, that was probably definitely the worst experience by far, which is very, very interesting.
Wait
Yeah,
a
I
minute.
mean,
Wait a minute. He called you from a some blocked and unknown number to tell you that you're brainwashed?
that basically, it was a woman, by the way, as well,
No, I'm kidding.
and they had said that, I effectively was just like, I guess, it's not uncommon for companies to try to go through students to kind of pitch their idea to university staff and faculty, and so they were saying that this was one of those cases where I was basically just being a vehicle, and I wasn't really thinking for myself and all different types of stuff.
So she didn't ask you any questions, she told you what you were doing.
Exactly. Not to prolong this, but it's really funny because the first time I ever saw this person in person, I was hosting the award show for Case Western. Then the
Ooh.
president, and I was talking to the president, and he looked at me, and this person saw it, and he was like, "Oh yeah, we have coffee in a few days. I'll see you next week." It's not pretty typical that I guess university students have one-on-ones with the president of the university, and so I was just thinking, well, you didn't know who I was when you said all this to me.
You know what? Foot and mouth. And more importantly, I think maybe she's probably going around telling the story herself. That's the other thing. It's like you have a story, then she
Mhm.
has a story, then he has a story. Everybody has a story based
Yep.
on something that
Yep.
happened.
I will say
And
that's
hopefully there
completely
was a
uncommon.
learning.
Do not like, if anyone's listening, do not expect that to happen to you. Uh, out of maybe 3,000 cold emails I've sent in these past few years, one had that result, and it was very specific for what I was doing. It was because I was a founder and I was trying to like build relationships. This will never happen if you're asking someone for their time, or if you're asking them for an internship or a job or for mentors. Like that's not a possibility. I want to make that
Yeah.
very clear. But that's definitely the worst, and I think it made me so much stronger. And I guess that person's reputation corroborates what happened to me after talking to other
Well
people.
well, here's the other noticing that happens, and then we're gonna jump
Mhm.
into this game because I'm super excited about it. But the one thing I try to tell other people that I also had to learn was I go into whatever it is that I'm gonna do, the cold email, the cold outreach on LinkedIn, whatever, thinking about myself.
Yep.
I go in thinking about me and how I'm gonna feel and how it's gonna feel if they do or don't respond, and I
Mhm.
never take a second to think like, "Yes, this person has a job, but they're also probably married. They also probably have kids. They probably also have a parent that may be going through things." People are going through life,
100%.
and we are thinking about this one A to B conversation, but someone else person on the B side has a whole functioning life.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
whatever's they're saying or not saying to you, oftentimes isn't even about you.
Yep. Yep.
Like,
100%
her
agree with you.
response to you about that, clearly she had been burned or something had happened, and it
I
has
agree.
nothing to do with you. And the same is true when people don't follow up, when people
This
don't
is
reach
also
back
true.
out to you.
Yep.
It has nothing to do with you. It could be that they're getting laid off. I've
Mhm.
actually have responded to people who reached out to me when I was working at Microsoft, like, "Hey, Britt, I wanna, talk to you about this, and we met here." And I'm very responsive on LinkedIn. I try to be. And I'll tell somebody, yeah, 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 and I would make time, but there was a moment for about 8 months where I was in a terrible situation with my manager,
Mm.
and I was trying to leave Microsoft, and I was like, "I
Mhm.
gotta figure out if I'm gonna leave, how I'm gonna leave, what I'm gonna do after," and I was a mess for, like, 8 straight months, and I had to just respond to people. If I responded or not, I don't even know, but some people I was like, "It's not a good time."
Yep. Yep.
They have no idea. They may have thought that I don't like them. I have a whole life going on. And so I think that's the other aspect, like, we gotta remember people are living life. Life is hard,
Yep. Yep.
and it's just not about you. So those are great stories. I love those. Okay.
Yeah, I just agree with you there. I think I don't hold any sort of negativity towards that person at all. Just have to have grace with people, right? You don't know what's going on in their lives, and it's always important to assume the best intentions with everyone you're interacting with anyone you're cold messaging, with anyone who may or may not show up for you in the way that maybe they just didn't have their best today, right?
Yeah.
No one has their best every day, and sometimes we're just like we're crawling along. Sometimes you catch someone and your first impression of them is when they're in a really tough situation.
Yep.
And, I think you need to acknowledge that as such in those moments, just like I did. So I don't really, it's all good. I don't really feel negatively about that experience at all.
Yeah. Awesome. You need to go on stages and tell people this. All right. Here we go. I'm gonna run a minute timer. We're gonna play a game called I Should Have Known That. I don't know if you're familiar
I'm not.
with this game.
Ooh.
I am a huge trivia person. I love it.
Okay.
Mostly because I don't think I know a lot. I think I know random facts, but I also love to learn random facts.
Hmm.
Okay, so we're gonna play this game, and quite frankly, you should know this stuff.
Okay.
Are you
I'm scared
ready?
now with this pressure.
Don't be scared. Okay, we're gonna run through as many questions as we can, and I'm gonna keep track of how many you get right. We're gonna do it for 1 minute.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, and go. And what country is the city of Acapulco in?
Did I pass?
Yes. Great. Pass. What is the distance between the goal line and the penalty spot in soccer?
10 meters.
No.
The feet? I don't know.
Close. What does a Jolly Roger flag usually depict?
It depicts the emblem of a pirate ship or a pirate.
No. What is the name of our galaxy?
The Milky Way.
All right, ding, ding, ding. What brand is behind the iconic perfume number five? Number five. Okay. When you address a letter with C/O, what does the C in O stand for?
No idea.
Cool. What is the round button on an iPhone called?
Is it the home button?
Yes, ding, ding, ding.
Oh, okay, okay.
What condition is Dustin Hoffman's character Raymond Rabbit affected by in the 1988 film Rain Man?
I haven't even seen it. Wow, that was slightly embarrassing.
Let's review a few. Let's review a few.
Woo! Wow.
Acapulco,
No idea.
Mexico. You were close with the soccer. It's 11 meters or 12 yards.
Ah, I said
The Jolly Roger flag depicts a skull and crossbones.
isn't that typically for pirate ships? No, 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 no.
But is a
Okay.
skull and crossbones a pirate ship?
No, it's not, it's not.
Okay. What's the name of our galaxy? You got that. Milky Way. Congratulations. What brand is behind the iconic perfume number five, Chanel number five?
I never would have gotten that.
Okay. CO in care of.
In ca
In
I don't think
care
I've ever
of.
heard that. That's
So you
interesting.
write like, whatever. Brit Hunter, CO, Jarrell Womack, my mom, in care of,
Mm,
whatever. What is the round button on the iPhone? It's a home button. I still have one. People do not. So that's funny. Rain Man, you never saw it?
I've never seen it.
You should watch it. It's a classic. It's, God, what's the guy from Jerry Maguire in Mission Impossible? Why is this escaping my brain?
Ooh,
Wow.
slipped on my
Anyway,
brain as well.
Dustin Hoffman. It's questionable. Yeah, I don't know if you could do this today,
Okay.
but he is autistic in the movie.
He's playing an autistic character as a for comedic value?
No, see?
Okay, but okay, that's
No.
probably acceptable
No, no,
then.
no, no, no. But it's a little like today I'd watch it, I'm a little cringe.
Okay, okay,
It's
okay.
a little it's a little cringe, but it was a very popular movie. He's in a home and he's just I mean, autistic people are have a natural talent of being really smart in something. He's an
Yeah.
amazing counter. Like counting is what he does. He does a bunch of other stuff, but okay, well you learned a lot today.
I did more than I thought I would learn. Wow.
Well, Milky Way, I'm glad you know that. All right. Let's get into some other stuff. So you are graduating from college soon. You are graduating into a down market. So there's
Mm.
lots to talk about. I myself graduated college in 2008. This was
Ooh, that's a
kind of
tough that
it was
tough,
a
tough.
tough time, but I had a job lined up. I also graduated from business school in 2020 during the pandemic. So
Well, you
I
just can't pick
know
times right, can you, Britt?
but here's the thing, history repeats itself. This
Mm.
down market thing keeps happening, and I think it's happening at a faster clip now. There's a smaller, shorter window in between, so I think we're getting used to, or should start getting used to, down markets and how to navigate them. But the job market is the job market. Let's talk about it. You're about to graduate. What are your thoughts on the job market? All these layoffs, all this stuff happening. You have a business, you have a job opportunity, maybe. What's your thinking on the job market right now?
It's really, really interesting you asked this. New graduate unemployment has reached rates that we haven't seen since 2008. We're also seeing far more longer term unemployment. The labor statistic for unemployed individuals who've been searching for a job for 27 weeks or longer, it's 26% of all of them. It's about 1.95 million people, give or take, of the unemployment number. So that doesn't include people who are just on contracts or working part time and like
Yeah.
still have very bad job security. And you mentioned the layoffs. Of course, some of the biggest examples are the tech layoffs, which have really been sweeping the nation and have been increasing every single year. It's really, really tough, right? I think what's also happened in the past, say, decade in colleges is a lot of employers don't go to universities anymore.
Mm.
There are tons of kind of examples of Microsoft or these different companies coming to the university and taking kids who knew nothing about their business or who had never worked for any type of company like theirs before, interviewing them and giving them a job and a great start in Redmond. Right? That doesn't happen anymore. We've kind of focused now more to people having tons of experience before they apply for these roles and, applying on LinkedIn and Indeed. But as you just mentioned, we're also in the time where LinkedIn and Indeed aren't really working great
Yeah.
anymore. And so as a college student, when a lot of the statistics support the idea that if you don't get a college like a job that requires a college degree out of college, the trends say that in a decade you'll still not have one. So it's tough. It's tough. You really gotta think about the networking. I think I'm gonna get my job in networking. I don't really believe at this point that I'm going to luck upon a job on LinkedIn or Indeed or a handshake and I'm just gonna find my perfect role. It's going to come from emailing, cold emailing, from my network, from people that I know, and that's kind of what I'm optimizing for right now.
Yeah. What would you tell a graduating senior coming up in May, June, who's on the fence about college or maybe is not getting the nods from college? Like, what advice are you telling them now that you've gone through your college experience?
Yeah, so I think college has also evolved. I think college has evolved, universities always evolve slowly or slower than the broader, just society. So I think what happened, 20, 30 years ago is I would go to job to be a doctor. I go
Mhm.
to job to be a nurse, a teacher, an engineer, and you would go to these universities and you had this plan when you went in and you got the job afterwards and there's your life. What's happening now though is no one's going to college with a plan. Which is fine, but what happens is college doesn't really teach you how to create that plan. It doesn't teach you how to think about your career and how do you start now and how important are internships and networking and like how do I figure out what I want to do in my life? Right? It's not really designed across the country to do that. So what I'd say to somebody who's on the fence, you should still go. If you can afford it, still, like, all the statistics support the idea that you will make far more money and have greater opportunities and all, better life outcomes if you do get a 4-year degree. That is still
Mhm.
true, and that's been true for a very long time. I don't see that ever changing. What I will say, though, is you do have to be far more intentional because we're seeing a situation nowadays where you can go to college and you could go through your 4 years and you end your 4 years and you have no idea what you wanna do with your life. You have no job opportunities lined up. It's not directly going to result in a job, but you'll learn a lot. You will grow and experience things you've never experienced before, and you'll be better off in this, I guess, this I like to sometimes call it like a petri dish a little bit of the real world. Like, it's not exactly the real world, but you have to still be thinking about the real
It's a
world.
bubble.
Exactly. You're in this bubble.
Yeah, but
Perfect. That's what I was looking for. You're in
yeah.
this bubble. And so you have to realize you're in this bubble and still think about what's outside of that. So take the time to go to events that are optional. Take the time to talk to alumni. Take the time when you're a freshman in college to talk to all the seniors who do have jobs lined up and say, how did you do it? How can I be like you? Reach out to people and learn about the different career paths that are possible because life is a lot about figuring out what you don't want to do. And
Yeah.
you kind of can, like, dwindle that
Yeah.
down to really find what is your passion and your purpose, but you're typically gonna be saying no to things a lot, but if you've never said no in those 4 years, chances are that first job is gonna suck.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say, just be very more intentional than you would have had to have been, say, 2 decades ago.
This is all great advice, and you're saying basically, like, go ask for help.
Yes,
And
yes.
but what's interesting though is like colleges have career centers. They have
Mm.
guidance counselors. They have all these resources and you're telling me that still even with this stuff, you don't feel that they're doing a good job of preparing you. Is it because you're not going to use these resources or
Mm.
you just feel like they're just too generic or do you feel like it's just not sufficient?
That's a phenomenal question, and I
Thank
actually had
you.
this question, and I had this question, I said, "What are college centers doing?" So I interviewed 20 universities. I interviewed 20 college centers across the country, and I was trying to figure out why do we still have this major problem when you guys this whole you have this whole dedicated space for this career, and it's not working. And after interviewing them, I realized that they're helpful. Now, they are more helpful to go than not. But the biggest problem that every single career center has said to me was that they have a hard time reaching students. They, for some reason, are not requiring students to go to them or don't have a lot of these touch points with these different students. And so a lot of people, go there 4 years having never known about the career center. I didn't know about the career center until someone told me we had one. I didn't even know a career center existed. Like, I didn't know what the term meant, and I was, like, a sophomore in college. I just never had heard about this thing.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a lack of exposure for students, and also, career centers are also behind. Like, I believe that career centers should be far more engaged in interviewing and talking to employers about what they want and they need, and kind of disseminating that information to other students, because if the career center worked, Britt, we wouldn't have all these professional clubs where students are creating clubs and saying, "Hey, here's
That's
how you
true.
network to get this job. Here's how you do this to get this job. Here's how you do this," because the career center would just be doing it. And so students have created spaces because the career center
It's
hasn't
fallen
been
short.
working.
Yeah.
And so I think, yeah, so just after talking to them, that was my perspective. I think we need to see just a greater rapid improvement and innovation within the career centers, really trying to tailor the needs of college students to the current times because it feels like they're still in 2016, 10 years ago of what was working and what wasn't working.
Why is everybody talking about 2016? Am I missing something? Why is
So
this a
I
meme?
guess 2016 I guess is it was a start on social media where we're in 2026 now, and 2016 was 10 years ago now, and it was just a sort of, dude, how is 10 years already flown by? And tons of people had created different images and videos online about what they were doing in 2016. So, and some people say 2026 is the 2026 2.0. I drastically disagree with anyone who says that. But it was just a new trend, currently.
Okay. This is for it's true for the babies because I'm like 2016, I was like 30. So I don't even remember what was happening in 2016. Now, what I do find fascinating, and I'm glad that you guys are experiencing this. I'm gonna be honest. I'm glad
Mm.
that people are like, oh my God, 2016 was 10 years ago, because this is what it feels like to get old. I turned I turned 40 last year, which I'm not nervous about. I don't feel a way about, but I keep my mind keeps going.
Mm.
Every
Mm.
year it keeps doing this. I'm like, "What is happening?" Case in point, Scream 7 is coming out. Do you know what Scream is?
Yeah, the horror series.
Okay, okay. The fact that you said
I'm somewhat educated.
no, 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 it's not a judgment. It's just, I mean, you didn't let me not go through the cards again. You didn't know where
Was it Rain
Acapulco
Man?
was, so let me not come on now. No, Rain Man is a classic too. But anyway,
It was
I
in
digress.
1988.
And
Oh, oh, I'm sorry, I'm
Gone with
sorry.
the Wind was in the 30s, but we still know
Right,
what it
right.
is.
That's true. I apologize.
All
Yep,
right,
I know.
anyway, let me say this. Scream 7, right? I heard an ad coming out for Scream 7, and I was like, "Stop. Enough. Enough already." I didn't even see Scream 2 through 6, so enough. And what happened was they were like, the original cast, Neve Campbell is back, and she's the mom of this, and I was like, "Oh, man, I remember Neve Campbell." And they've got all
Mm.
these people coming back. 30 years later. 30 years since Scream came out? Like, then I felt really
Yep,
old. I felt really
yep, I
washed.
feel
And
that, I
so
feel
all that
that.
to say is I'm so happy that you guys are having this 10-year, like, because that's what it feels like to get old. When
Mm.
time is just like 10 years ago is this time that you thought was 2 years ago. You're like, "Wow." And so, anyway, I'm glad you guys are feeling it now because that's what I'm experiencing, and my mind is just blown every day. All right, let's get into AI because I read an article recently. It's an opinion, so it's not, like, really fact-based. There's some statistics in there, but, whatever.
Mhm, mhm.
And it was saying that Gen Z actually is not adopting AI at the same rate as their older counterparts. Now,
This is interesting. This is an interesting point you brought up.
okay, do you have a take on this? Because I
I
was
do.
shocked to think that, but what do you think?
So, was interestingly enough, another statistic I find interesting is that Gen Z is also drinking alcohol far less than any other generation as well. I think what happened for us is we kind of grew up in this social movement of rejecting what's always been true,
Mhm.
and really questioning everything. And so while we have adopted, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat years ago, Vine before that, we also are acutely aware of its consequences because it's happening to us first, right? MIT did this study kind of showing three different groups of their retention and growth and learning when completing, I think it was an essay assignment. And they saw that people who didn't use AI at all were by far the most better off by completing this assignment. And they saw definitely a decrease as more technology and different systems were used. And so I think we're experiencing the backlash. Like we are experiencing in
Mm.
real time that we are not learning. We are not growing. And so I think, yes, we're using some of this technology, but we're also aware, and questioning already. Whereas you see in these older generations, it's just technology is, it's just another one. I hear that a lot from people. It's just another form of technology. We had pagers and then we had, phones
Did have
and then
papers.
And then, we had the internet was a big deal, and they're now just adopting AI because 'cause you're used to adopting the new emerging technology, but for us, this is the big one. For us, this is the one because we grew up and internet already was there. Pagers already were gone, and so this is the first time where we are kind of experiencing a massive technological shift, and we're seeing the consequences in real time, and I think that's why we're not adopting some of the highest levels
Yeah.
of AI.
That's so interesting that you said that because as I read the article, it was saying that millennials are adopting it faster.
Mhm.
And I was like, that makes sense because when I was in 5th grade, we got a computer in the house. And this is
Mm.
when, computers maybe, so it was 95. Computers started arriving in homes probably 1990. But in 95, we had a computer in my house. And then we had computer class.
Yep.
Right? Then we had typing class, didn't exist before. And
Mhm,
so we
mhm.
were indoctrinated into you better learn, 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 learn. And it was moving so fast. Between 1995, 5th grade to high school, I mean, it went from just doing Mario type to Black Planet.
Yep.
Now there was like social platforms where people were connecting. I was in college when Facebook came out. And so Facebook first was in Ivy League schools only. I was at Duke. Duke was like the 12th school to be added. I was offended. I was like, I don't understand why we're 12th. And then it went to public university. So when I transferred to UConn, I got to introduce Facebook to people at UConn. They had never heard of it.
Mm.
Then it became anyone with an EDU email. Then it was JUCO. Then it was anyone with an email. And then I was like, I'm out. It's not exclusive anymore. I don't like this.
You
So
lost the
I've
fun.
my whole life has been adopting technology and keeping up to stay involved. And this is exactly what I thought about. I was like, that makes sense that we're adopting it because we're used to that arc. I was shocked to hear though that you weren't. And funny enough, as I'm having these conversations with Gen Zers, they will randomly kind of bring up AI in a sense of like, yeah, I saw this, but I didn't know if it was AI or not. So they're very
Mm,
skeptical.
that's also a very big thing. Yeah.
They're very skeptical. They're like, "I see this," and I'll say I will do this with my friends too. Now that they do it, I start to look at stuff and I'm like, "You know what? There's a lot of stuff on Instagram that is AI." Like just random stuff. Like, "Oh, look at a bus crashed into cars." I'm looking at it, I'm like, "That's not even real." And I can tell because there's a glitch right here. But unless you
Mm.
are paying attention and are educating yourself about it and looking at it and using AI, you won't know the difference, and that's dangerous.
You might also not really care as much, which
But,
also
like,
is
that's
another
kinda
topic.
scary, though, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you can abstain, you can say, "I don't wanna be involved," that's fine, right? I can abstain from politics. I am like, I don't want any parts, but it's also a little dangerous to be so naive that you have no
Mm.
idea what's going on. And so, there's this weird line that I'm curious to know how you guys toe it, but I kinda like this skepticism about AI because everyone else is all in.
Yeah.
We're like, "Oh, it's here," and everyone's pushing it on LinkedIn too, like, "You gotta know the new stuff," but it's happening so fast. Even when I was at Microsoft, they test things internally first, and then and everybody at Microsoft doesn't even get the access to the thing. A
Mm.
certain pool of people in the company will get access to this new AI feature in Teams, and it's funny because 'cause we're all communicating, we're like, "Hey, did you get the new update?" And people are like, "I didn't get that. What is that feature?" It's like, "Oh, I got it, you didn't." And they're testing it on us, and they were testing stuff so frequently that I was like, "Yo,"
They're
because
moving
that's how
fast.
fast it's changing. And now that I don't work at Microsoft, I'm a little like, I gotta stay plugged in because what you don't know, ignorance is bliss, but sometimes what you don't know can hurt you.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I like the skepticism, but I'm also like, I kinda want y'all to use it just so
Mm.
because to your point, I'm not actually sure that a college degree is gonna be as valuable the same way it has been. I think it's gonna be more about who's taking advantage of the democratization of social media
I
platforms,
agree.
who's taking advantage of understanding AI, because now you can build an app.
Yeah.
And so, I get the hesitance, but I'm like, y'all might wanna tap, tap, tap in just to have another tool in your belt. But yeah, all right, let's move on to But wait, what else about AI? What are you feeling about it? How are you using it? Because 'Cause you're going into finance, so are you using it at all or not?
So I think, finance at its basic level is a relationship business. So I think it's
Mhm.
one of the industries that's gonna be already is being affected, but, you talk about certain industries being replaced, and I feel like finance is highly insulated. I think in my
Mhm.
personal use, I also, yes, the insulation also comes from the fact that, like, junior bankers, just the ROI you make from a junior investment banker analyst is just so massive. You're gonna you're still gonna see these high classes coming out of college. But my personal use is definitely tester. I am definitely an early adopter, an early tester of new products, and I like to stay up to date. I've tested Gemini, Claude, DeepSeek, ChatGPT, Perplexity, and did early as well. So I've seen they kind of go through their life cycles. I also, I'm building an AI agent, so I also have to be, tapped in a lot to a lot of what's happening. I think when I look at my other college colleagues are doing the same. Maybe not nearly as much as I am, but they are using ChatGPT and comparing that to Gemini, and they are using Notebook LM, which is a Google tool. I think as I'm going into my career, though, we're definitely seeing as a professor out of Harvard who wrote an article, I think a few years ago at this point, that said that we are moving towards a world where there's going to be two distinct types of humans.
Mm,
Humans who use AI and humans who don't.
mm,
And I really agree with that. And I feel like it becomes truer every day as I think back to him saying that in an article. You make a very interesting point about degrees being less valuable. Palantir had a revolutionary program where they recruited high school graduates to work for them. They said, skip college or defer college or whatever. We don't care. If you are good enough, we will pour into you and you'll intern for us. Because what you're seeing is that college is not providing the specific skill sets that are currently now needed by employers. And so
mhm,
if you can get that otherwhere, which we now have to get otherwhere, it doesn't matter how old you are. And we also, of course, naturally see where sometimes job applications say, "Hey, you need 10 years of experience." That's kinda just like a fall safe to hopefully filter out the bad candidates, but they'll take someone who has 6 if they're phenomenal, right? It's always been a skills game and how good you are, and so I think you must use AI in a way that's productive. You can't allow for it to think for you. You can't allow for it to inhibit your growth, but you must use it to learn how people use it in industry. And whatever career or job that you're looking for, one of my first steps would 100% be, okay, what are the jobs that I want? Where are the companies where I could do this job? And how are the people who are doing this job right now utilizing technology? You just have to
mhm.
know what situation you're going into.
I love that. Now you said you're going into finance. Do you watch the show Industry?
I do not. So some of these I'm not really a big TV show watcher, but what's funny is my knowledge of some of these shows are just a running joke in finance and investment banking sometimes because, I forget there was one show, whatever the lawsuits equivalent to investment banking, whatever that show was, I'm talking to some senior bankers and they're like, "This doesn't make any sense. This is Hollywood." Like, an analyst at JP Morgan is not going to provide tons of great ideas and value that a managing director at JP Morgan wouldn't have known. And so I kind of have not really been too interested because they probably aren't realistic. But I think some of the best finance movies, The Big Short, Wall Street, are very relevant and, great kind of
Well, The Big
primers.
Short is based on a real story.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. I guess that one makes a lot of sense, but, I don't really watch those TV shows and think too much about them.
that's fair. I don't watch I think it's also, like, because you're too close, there's a proximity
Yeah.
issue, right?
Yep. Yep.
It's like when I was working in education, there was a
Mhm.
show called Vice Principals that's really funny,
Mhm.
but I could not bring myself to watch it because they were making fun of the chaos and just ridiculousness
Mm.
that exists in a school. The same way with Abbott Elementary. There's just so
Oh,
much
yeah,
ridiculousness.
yeah.
Like, it's funny, but a lot of that joint is, like, kinda true, and I was like, "I'm too close
Mhm.
to it. I'm too
I feel
close."
the same way about some of the moments with children and their parental situations. Some of my
Yeah.
family members are teachers, and, they have such angst and anxiety and frustration with not being able to help these individuals, and so a show like Abbott is kinda just comedic. So,
Yeah, it's funny. It's like, it's
I
funny for
yeah,
y'all, it's not funny for me. I
yeah.
cannot watch it. I'm like, "It's too triggering." I'm still thinking about work when I watch it. I can't just enjoy it. Today, I can enjoy it. But I still don't really watch it because I'm, like, still too close. Very dope. Okay, so let's talk about just, like, life after school. So you have a resilient kind of attitude and, like,
Mhm.
go get it, break it, fix it, whatever, like, we doing it. But also you have a great awareness of what's going on. Where does this come from? Are you just genuinely curious?
Yep, I think curiosity is the number one thing that matters. I think you've really it's experience, it's life. Like, I'm gonna be honest, bro, like, I made 2026 goals this year, and when I
You wanna
made these
share 'em?
goals maybe later if we have time. I can share some, read 10 books in a year and, some of
Okay.
them are really cool. But to do that, I had to ask myself, "Okay, what did my 2025 look like?" And I looked back and not even my 2025 goals, but my 2024 goals,
Huh?
and I looked at them and I was like, "I haven't accomplished any of these, and it's been 2 years."
Yeah.
And so I think, when you set these goals for yourself or you had this vision of what your life was gonna look like and it doesn't really happen, we all have these moments. I think you become far more focused on making the things that matter happen. And
Okay.
so I had that experience my freshman, and sophomore year that kind of forced me to wake up to, really focusing on the things that I care about and not being on Instagram and not being on YouTube and decreasing my screen time. And what I realized is that there's so many things in life that we can categorize as work that you can also enjoy.
Yeah.
So people talk about a work-life balance, and that's definitely true for some people, but I feel like it's more of a work-life integration. Right? Can you kind of do what you love, and can that help pay the bills? And so I tried my best, and then I guess at that point in time, I'd gotten over the fear of cold emailing and cold messaging, and I'd seen so many crazy results, from cold emailing, cold messaging. I wouldn't be here if I didn't cold message, over 1,000 people, in these past, or 2,000 probably at this point, over these past few years, and so now having this courage to be vulnerable, this courage to be comfortable with the unknown and not getting responses, I was able to just really figure out what I wanna do with my life. And I don't
Yeah.
really have it all figured out just yet, but I definitely am probably farther than other people just because I put time towards it, of talking to people and researching and trying new things and doing, as you said at the beginning of this call, you just gotta do it.
Yeah. You can't learn if you don't do it. So I love that you talk about curiosity. I wanna know how you kind of like, what's your main mode of learning? For me,
Mm.
growing up and just in college, it was from books. Like, there's not there's this idea that people kinda have, I think, that, like, my life is unique. Been around for a long time.
Yep.
So the
Yep.
reality is that most things that you've gone through, someone else in the world has actually gone through the exact same
Mhm.
pattern
Mhm.
of behaviors. And there's memoirs.
Yep.
There's
I was just about to say that.
Okay, so memoirs was, like, my biggest, like because you get advice from adults that are close to you, but again, it's that proximity thing, like, it's not that I don't trust you, it's just, like, I talk to you all the time, but when I hear it from somebody different or
Mhm.
read about it, it's just so inspiring, especially when I read a memoir, as much as I don't like him, I don't like what side JD Vance is on, I feel like he went the wrong way, but his
Understandable.
memoir is inspiring. There's a lot of memoirs about people who were Mormon and then, like, have converted out of it, people who've grown up on, like, crazy brainwashed things and they've gotten out of it. American Dirt, a woman who travels across the Mexican to American border. Like, there's so many memoirs that humanize the human condition that give me, like, relief, like, "Okay, I can breathe." Like, it's gonna be fine because these people have navigated something way crazier than what I'm navigating right now, and the theme is always the same. Keep going long enough that you can write about it. Just keep going. So memoirs for me are like a big learner, a space that I learn a lot. What's something for you that helps you learn?
I love podcasts, specifically the podcasts that are visual,
Okay.
where they show diagrams and frameworks and sources of studies and statistics. I think that my generation loves YouTube. And one of the ways that I was able to kick my YouTube addiction was by only watching podcasts on YouTube. I
Mm,
also like to listen to the Founders Podcast as well, if you've heard of that
mm.
podcast. So I'm a big podcast person because it really expands your mind. And while I've gotten back into reading, I was not a reader, Britt. I don't think I read a book besides for school for maybe a decade of my life. I'm getting back into it now.
It's
But
okay.
but podcasts were this really cool way to gain so much information because Diary of a CEO is a phenomenal example of that, where Stephen goes and finds people who have been doing what they've been doing for 30, 40 years, and they're disseminating all of their knowledge and information, the most important parts, into maybe 1 or 2 hours. And that's why I love networking, because networking is a way where you can interact with someone who's done the thing that you're interested in when you can't do it yourself and can tell you what it's like. And so podcasts are the same way you can do that. And I think it's just so cool to have like a front row seat and into the minds and the mentalities of some of the greatest learners and researchers and experts and everything on the planet. And you can do it from home. You can do it while you're walking. You can do it while you're on the subway. You can do it while you're exercising, and it's quick, right? Reading is great, but we don't always have a time to read. It takes time to read a 500, 600-page book.
Yeah, it does, Dylan. Make the time.
I'm trying. I'm trying. It's my one of my goals this year. One of my goals this year.
10 is ambitious. To go from like not really reading to go to 10, I want you to just knock out 2. I do.
I I already got one down. I
What'd you
already read
read?
Atomic Habits by James Clear. I already read one book, so I've already got one.
Okay. So all right. All right. I'm gonna let you have it. I'm not gonna be the person that's like vegan and convincing everybody to be vegan. I'm not gonna like, hammer in your head, you gotta read these books because there's
Mm,
also audiobooks. And I
mm.
think audiobooks is like one of the better ways for me in a car, on a plane, before bed. There's a timer that you
I didn't know
can
that.
set it off. I don't know if you use Spotify, but
I do.
okay. Do you have the membership?
I do, yeah.
Okay, awesome. You have audiobooks on Spotify for free, and you have a certain amount of hours that you can listen to audiobooks, and then there's
I
a
didn't know I had a
timer
certain amount of
feature.
hours. It's interesting.
You have a certain amount of hours, enough hours if you don't rewind, which is my problem, enough hours to get through a whole book, and there's a timer at the bottom where you can set it to, like, 30 or 45 minutes. That way, like, if you pass out, it turned off, so it doesn't run out all of your hours. I'm learning this. I just figured this out, so you're welcome for that. Alright,
Thank
we
you, thank you.
are nearing the end of the show. Is there anything you want us to know about you? I would love to hear about your company. What's something you
Yeah.
want people to know about?
So I think timing is I've talked a lot about how, university and college and, kind of what you should be thinking about, and timing is that love child. It came from an idea that I had because I was experiencing the problem. For investment banking and different finance or tech roles, you network, right? The point is, say, network with these different bankers, these different professionals, and that'll be a way for you to say get the first round and maybe the super day. It's a very relationship based game, and so all of us will track these relationships within an Excel sheet. And so I had, say, 30, 40 people. And after recruitment ended, I looked back at it for the first time in 6 months. And I looked at all these names and I said, these are phenomenal people. I don't know them anymore. Right? I mean, in fact, let me take a step back. I never knew them, right? I
Mhm.
had one interaction with them, and I put them on this list as if they were my network, and I forgot about it. And so I texted one of them. I said, "Hey, just checking in. How are you doing?" And in 5 or 6 minutes or so, he messages back and he says, "Who are you?" Right? He forgot who I was, and it wasn't his fault. It was mine, right?
Yeah,
Of not trying to cultivate this relationship that I initiated. And then
right.
in that specific moment, that's where timing came about, right?
Mhm.
A personal network assistant that remembers when you forget, right? That is able to, take all your relationships that and you have on Instagram, your phone number, people who you've met, your coworkers from Microsoft, you want to stay in contact with, and can they put that in the one source of truth and manage it for you so that you can always stay up to date with these people. Because it's really hard. And as I got more into the problem, Brett, and I really focused on college students and job seekers, I came across the fact that this is biological. You know, we feel really bad when we forget about someone's kid's birthday, or we feel really bad
Mhm.
when we forget to message someone. But fundamentally, we have a cognitive limit, right? There's a
Right.
guy, I forget his first name, but Dunbar. He's this English scientist who popularized this term called Dunbar's framework, which is his belief. in the maximum amount of meaningful relationships we can have in life, which is dictated by a part of our brain called the neocortex, which holds our ability to kind of remember all this stuff. And that number apparently is just 150. And so
Yeah.
when you feel like you can't, you have different priorities, you don't have the time, you forget these people, like this is a biological thing. And so can you use technology? That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to use technology to offload all of those things that we just can't do very well to tech to allow for us to connect more as people in a way that isn't intrusive. It's not, robots talking to robots, but it's truly just your assistant. And so that's really what I'm building right now, and I'm really getting interested in. And yeah, would love to have people take a look at it. You can search up my LinkedIn, Dylan Pinkins, and you can take a look. Join the newsletter or something. But I think it's also, I guess, a desire. But as you mentioned, what do I do with my life? I'm curious. I'm trying to figure things out. If I could create a life for myself where all I'm doing all day is just doing things that are gonna help people.
Mhm.
How about making enough money to, like, eat and live? I wanna do that. So
Yeah.
that's really what timing's about and what I'm trying to build.
And I love that, it's called timing. Ooh, it's
Right,
very
right?
fancy. So I can see this easily being integrated into, like, a sales org. I can see a
Mhm,
sales org
mhm.
being like, "Hey, man, we gotta cultivate relationships," like you said, finance. I see this in the workplace, but it is best used for early in career people who are trying to build those relationships using technology, though, right? Because relationships is very personal. So how do you see it fitting into the everyday? We got a million apps already.
Yeah.
We got a
Yeah.
million things integrated. Are you hoping to be acquired and be embedded
Mhm,
into another app,
mhm.
or how are you seeing it come to fruition?
Yeah, so I'm not really sure yet in terms of the exit opportunity. I think that my vision for timing is for the individual. And potentially being acquired by businesses that serve the company could lose some of what I'm trying to build and the vision that I have. But I do think that the goal of timing is that timing feels like an assistant.
Yeah,
And you aren't, it's less that you feel like you're interacting with technology, and it's more like you feel like you're interacting with someone who's trying to help you.
yeah,
And so we're really trying to optimize for the mobile app space. We trying to optimize for the text speech space so that this thing can talk to you
yeah,
because it is tough, right, to rely on something like this, and we have tons of apps and tons of focus, and so can you have a tool that doesn't make you have to focus anymore? In fact, it actually helps you focus on what's important because you have
mm,
this assistant that knows what your goals are, that knows what your focuses are, and is saying, "Hey, do this, like, this is what you should be doing right now. You said you were gonna do XYZ, you're focused on getting a job, so where are you with these applications?" Like, can it help be a positive factor in your life? As opposed
yeah.
to the app is kind of the big thought
It's
process.
nice. That sounds like a great, like, accountability feature and, kinda like a coach.
Exactly. Yeah, I think timing doubles as a life coach, I like to say sometimes.
That's awesome. Wow, okay. Well, we're nearing the end of our show. This has been amazing. I mean, I feel like I'm just having coffee with a high up executive somewhere teaching me about their life, so this is
I
really
appreciate
awesome.
that.
Now at the end is the unsolicited advice part. So here's
Okay.
how I do it. I'm going to give you unsolicited advice based on what I've heard from you. And then you are going to decide if you want to give unsolicited advice to people your age, people younger than you, or people older than you. So I will go first, give you
Okay,
some
okay.
time. Because I see you like, I have advice for everybody, but I'm not sure how
I'm
to do it.
unsure which one to do.
Okay, so my advice for you is get on stages. You are a great speaker. You tell a great story. You can weave. You take something very complex and make it very clear, and it's super easy to understand. And it's you make things relatable. And I think that's one of the hardest things for people to do, and you do that naturally. And so, whether it's to engage people with your app, whether it's to tell people who are close in proximity to your age how to think about going after things, how to do things scared. Like getting on a stage and being in front of people also not only gets your message out there, but it opens so many opportunities like you're already doing. But now they're warmer leads because they've interacted with you. And
Mm,
so, my push for you, it doesn't have to be this year, but for 2027 is to find more stages so that people can hear what you have to say. I mean, you are I'm sure a lot of parents wish you could talk to their kids and shake them. "Listen to Dylan!" But also just, you know, early career people who are looking for community and feel alone in this struggle. I think to hear somebody being optimistic is gonna be refreshing for people. So, that would be my unsolicited advice to you is to get on stages some way, somehow.
I really appreciate that, and it is definitely a focus of mine. I don't really I don't want to be on stage. I find that it's just not really been a desire of mine, but when I realize the impact I can have on people, I feel compelled to do it, right? Because I have a story to tell, I have a lot of stuff to say, and I have had experiences where people have said to me, "Dylan, you changed my life." And I don't
Oh,
know if there's I don't get emotional here, Britt. I can't think of it. Oh, it's one of the best feelings when someone says, "Dylan, you said this to me, or you helped me here, or you did XYZ, and I feel like you genuinely changed my life." And that's one of the
yeah.
best feelings in the world, and can I maybe create more of that, positively for people? And having a voice, an amplifier is better than just a one-to-one. So I probably will. I appreciate the compliment.
Yeah. Alright. Alright, it's your turn.
It's my turn. Whew, okay, so okay, I'm gonna go people my age. I think we are someone needs to say this. I really hope people hear this.
Hold your hand while I say this is what I heard you say.
Seriously, you need to take accountability for your circumstances and realize that everything that you want in life you can have.
Mm,
I think a lot of people my age right now, we're massive consumers. Right, we're Instagram and TikTok and Twitch and YouTube, but also, we go to college and we just go to class. You don't really like lean in a lot, and we're massive consumers. And the minute life gets better, the minute you kind of start working towards your goals is when you say, "Hey, I've been spending all this time here, but none of these things are actually pushing me forward to the person I want to be."
mhm,
Right? Who do I wanna be? What does that person look like? How do I get there? Like, I really want people to sit more with just asking themselves these hard questions, because 'cause they're very uncomfortable. You feel terrible at 1 or 2 AM in the morning when you're like, "Dude, I wasted this entire day, and now I'm sitting here, I'm finally motivated, but it's 2 AM. When I wake up tomorrow, I'm probably just gonna go back to my regular life and check my phone and spend 5 hours on Instagram again." And I really will just wanna challenge the people of my age group to put down the phone for a while, take a walk, and just think about where you are now, where you want it to be, who do you wanna be, and just create a plan. You don't have to, like, if you get anxiety or if you have some type of, predisposition that makes it hard, for you to do that, maybe don't write it down, but just start working towards a better you. Because, we also talked about 2016 being 10 years ago and this whole trend. Like, we are adults now. You know what I mean? Like, we are adults, and that's crazy for me to say that because I am 21, so this is a new thing. I am an adult.
welcome. It's
I'm
lit.
glad I'm kinda glad to be here, not really. And so we have to have this turning point of what's important and really kind of just don't just go through life, right? Don't just let life happen to you. Make things happen in your life.
Preach to them. I love that. The kids are doing this, so I'm gonna do it on my show every
Right,
time.
right.
Dylan, this has been dope. More reason for you to get on stages to tell people to have more ownership over their journey, over their
Mhm.
path, over their future, because no one's coming to save you.
No one is. It's
Nobody's
very
coming, and
hard. It's very
it's a
hard to
hard truth to
understand that.
learn, and it's a terrible truth to learn at, like, 30 or 40, so it's better to
Mm.
learn it now when people will excuse you for your nonsense. But it's not cute. It's not cute at 29, 30. It's not cute. Tighten up now, figure it out now, work through it now, um, so you can make it easier for yourself instead of waiting for it to get easier. I love that advice. So, thank you so much for being on the show today.
So happy to be here. I appreciate the opportunity, Brett.
I'm really grateful for your time, and I know somebody's gonna hear this episode and be like, "Oh, I needed to hear that today." So shout out to you. All
Shout
right,
out to
y'all,
you as well.
everybody. Yeah. Thank you everybody for joining us today. And remember, in order to be exceptional, you must be the exception. Peace.